Good Monday morning, and we are international as we always are today. We got Sean in Manchester. We've got Amedeus in his, chalet just above Toronto, and I'm holding down the fort here in the good old U.S. of A. So, boys, yesterday, Sean, you got to see a very interesting Manchester United team play, and Amadeus and I were watching golf. No, I'm just kidding. Or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, no, the first 20 minutes. I thought, Leicester could have been 2-0 up, and they didn't score, and then Rashford scored, and I was watching match of the day here, and James Madison was like, "Man, we did everything but score," and then Rashford scored, and our heads went right down, and then you can see in the second half we just battered him, but um, it's interesting. This guy, Rashford. This guy's like every game. He's just automatic at this point. He scores every single game. Just if we can keep him healthy going forward, there's really no limit to what they could do. So now they get, they really over that stretch without Casemiro played, and picked up 7 points, and it could have been 9. So yeah, look, it's great. Always good going to games. And I saw Tottenham. West Ham stinks. But and then it's a massive, massive week here for in England. Uh, huge game tomorrow night in Liverpool. Real Madrid. Real Madrid's a little banged up. So is Liverpool. And then Wednesday you got you also have Napoli, Eintracht Frankfurt, and which I think is a big game. And Wednesday you got Inter, Porto, and Leipzig, Manchester City. So and Thursday you got the Barcelona and Manchester United playing here in Manchester. So and another big day of games and the other competition. So yeah, it's a huge week. And then obviously you got the Carabao Cup final on the weekend. So.
What did you think of Liverpool's performance on Saturday? Because I know they got a big 2-0 win at Newcastle, but I don't know. From watching that game, it almost looked like after Newcastle got the red card, they were the better team because Liverpool just sat back for the rest of the match. By then they had the 2-goal lead, but
yeah, I think they took the foot off the gas a little bit because they knew they had to play Wednesday, or Tuesday, sorry. But, I thought they really could have kind of put a marker down. They're chasing Newcastle here. They have this huge game against Real Madrid tomorrow night, but Newcastle's off next weekend, and if Liverpool goes out, and I believe they play on Saturday. They have a winnable game. They play at Crystal Palace in the late game, 7:45 game here. I'll be down in London for that. Maybe I'll hit. But all of a sudden, if Liverpool wins that game, and once again, I'm going to quantify this by saying they've been terrible for a long time. They're only 3 points behind Newcastle with the same amount of games played. Newcastle now all of a sudden is back to 5th. They were second and third all year, kind of chasing those two leaders, and all of a sudden now Newcastle is 8 points behind Manchester United. They have a game in hand, but they're a point behind Tottenham. Fulham is only 2 points behind Newcastle. Liverpool, if they win, is only 3 points behind. Brighton, on 35 points, but only 22 matches played. All of a sudden could be 3 points. So this like fairy tale season for Newcastle, and we'll see if Foxy comes on at some point, but he might be trying to stay away because he's a little nervous about this week. But
now that the donkey Nick Pope is out,
oh
so
man, Loris
that
Perry is
move.
playing goal. Yeah, and then Dubravka can't play because he played for United in the Cup, which was infinitely smart of Eric Ten Hag to play him there. But yeah, look, I don't know. I Newcastle, they have a plus 20 goal difference, and look, they've only lost 2 of 23 matches, but
they have 12 draws, and I think you're starting to see those pile up now.
You're starting to see, look, I mean, since the World Cup ended, 0-0 with Newcastle with Leeds, 0-0 with Arsenal. In the FA Cup they lost to Sheffield Wednesday. 1-0 they beat Fulham, 0-0 with Crystal Palace. They beat Southampton 1-0 in the cup. 1-1 with West Ham, 1-1 with Bournemouth, 2-0 loss to Liverpool. They haven't been scoring a lot of goals. Look, if they win the cup on Sunday, it doesn't really matter. They've won a cup. I think that's kind of what they did. And Foxy was saying this team is overachieving, but when you're third for half the season, and you're playing well, I mean, you don't have a lot of excuses if you're just drawing, and they're just not playing well right now. So, but once again, if they win a cup, I mean, their season is basically complete because they'll be in the Europa League at that point. So even no matter where they finish, and they could still turn it around and finish, top 4 here. But I think right now it's going to be a battle between Tottenham, Newcastle. I don't know if I believe in Fulham completely, but I think Liverpool is going to jump up into that. And one team that won't be jumping up into it is Chelsea. So, but it's going to be a battle between those 3 or 4 teams for top 4.
Yeah, Chelsea just keeps sliding, and you know what? They've actually looked pretty good in their last few games with these new players. So, like that Dortmund match, for example, I think they probably go back next week and destroy Dortmund at home because they were all over them in that match. The only reason Dortmund scored was because Chelsea hit the post on a corner kick.
Yeah, who's going to score if you do? Who's scoring for Chelsea? That's my only concern.
Like, Joao Felix has looked really good. He's you can tell he was deprived at Atletico Madrid there because he's really taken his chances to score. I think Enzo Fernandez has been great, and really, honestly, it's Mudryk. Mudryk is the one that really brings the threat on their attack. He's the danger factor with his speed and the way he can just slip in behind the back line. He puts himself in a lot of good positions.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll kind of, I think it kind of all the Premier League stuff goes on the back burner a little bit this week because of the Champions League and the Europa League. I mean, there's just huge games here coming up on Tuesday, and remember this is still only the first legs of matches. So Eintracht Frankfurt and Napoli. Now, this Napoli team, man, I watched them play Friday night. I'll tell you what, I mean, if you're looking for a dark horse to win this Champions League, that's the team. I don't know if they could, at some point, if they get drawn against, I don't know, Manchester City, Real Madrid. I think they could win that tie. I don't know if they will, but I think this team is a dangerous team. The Osimhen is a monster. The winger is I mean, they're very good. So they have a chance. I mean, they are definitely put themselves in with a chance here. And I mean, you look what's going on in Serie A right now. I mean, they have a 15-point lead over Inter, 18-point lead over Roma, 18-point lead over AC Milan, who's back up into the top 4, 20-point lead over Lazio. So, I mean, they only have 1 loss. They're 20 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss, and their goal difference is plus 41. They're going to walk to the title. So, I think because that league is so, it's just really at this point they're going to walk to the title. They can really kind of start focusing, and Serie A also helps them out. They'll play. They'll help move the game.
They played on the Friday, for example.
Yeah, no, they definitely, they definitely do that for their teams, and that's the one. All these leagues do it except for the Premier League
because they want the bids. That's what it is, right? And the Premier League's like, we're the greatest. We'll get the bids. No, you don't, because you don't have them this year.
The Serie A, I mean, right now, I mean, they're fighting with the French league, to keep that 4th bid and the German league. But now, look, I mean, Napoli, is probably going to go through. Milan. Inter could go through. Milan could go through. In Germany, you got you got all those teams. You got Dortmund in good spot right now to go through with the 1-0 lead against Chelsea. You got Bayern Munich with a good 1-0 lead going back home. You got Eintracht Frankfurt at home, probably not going to go through, but they're still in it. RB Leipzig, through to the round of 16. So, you got Freiburg. So it's big for these teams to kind of keep winning, because that's how you keep those 4 bids in the league. And now for France, obviously, if PSG goes out, they're in trouble. They're probably not going to keep those. They're not going to get that boost to maybe keep going and getting that 4th bid. And then you see what happened in those other, Monaco. Monaco's up 3-2 against Leverkusen.
Yeah, they always come out on the road. Like, they can't play defense, so they have to score goals on the road.
Rennes down 2-1 going home against Shakhtar.
That was bad. I can't believe they lost. But Rennes, they're not. Again, that's another, like, these teams in France, I find they don't play on the road well. I don't know what it is.
You see the splits between home and road, and it's like, it's really it is crazy. So, I think, for France, they're going to be, Nantes goes home 1-1 against Juventus. They have a chance. So
that was another shock.
Yeah. I mean, I watched a few of those games. I mean, that was after the board. My brain was like in a fog. I'll be able to kind of see some of these. So we'll be out somewhere watching the early games before we go, because the game Thursday night against Barcelona is at 8:00 here. So, I'll go into the stadium probably around 6:30 or something like that. So,
let me ask you a question. What losing Neymar, what does that do for PSG?
I mean, they're used to it at this point. I mean, the guy's always hurt. He's always hurt for the second. Shock! Neymar's missing the game when it's his sister's birthday. I can't believe it. No, I'll tell you.
You kept calling it for months too. You're like, they're gonna need him then when Neymar's gone for his sister's birthday.
I'll say it supposedly the same ankle that he got banged up in the World Cup. So his ankle, I know his ankle was pretty swollen. So I mean, it's actually not like, it's just amazing. Like, his ankle is like swelled up like crazy. So he's actually not.
His ankle is a soccer ball.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, clunk.
Yeah, look, he's not gonna play. Obviously, I mean, it's everyone knows it. It's kind of not a. He's going to be out for 3 weeks. I forget when his sister's birthday is. It's right. It's second leg's on Mark. Let me see.
Got to get that date down.
He's making a little money. Maybe he could fly the sister to the game. I mean,
No, it's so his sister's birthday is March 11th. So maybe he plays in that leg. But
I think this is hilarious. I mean, when you think about it.
It's a
thing. I mean, dollars on the line, and this guy's like, I mean, look, I'm happy that he loves his sister. That's great.
Well, it's it's a little dodgy.
Yeah.
Like he's missed 7 of 8 games are right around the sister's birthday. It's crazy. Like, last year he played. But, I mean, it's just like, at this point, it's like they call it a curse, but it's just, I think it's a little, it's just weird. It's the whole thing. So,
okay.
Well, I agree with you where I think it's not as big a deal having Neymar out as it would to have Messi or Mbappe out. Mbappe is the clear X factor from what we saw in the last 20 minutes of that first leg. He's the one that's going to make the difference against Bayern. They can't keep up with his speed, and that's going to be a problem, because really PSG scored 2 goals. One was way offside, but the other one was offside by like a toenail. So Bayern's lucky to escape with that 1-0 win. And I think if I'm Bayern right now, I'm not looking too forward to that home leg, because you don't have as big as an advantage as you did on the road when they were missing one of their better players.
Yeah, look, at this point, Mbappe, he's the French Rashford at this point, but he is gonna be
Rash Mbappe.
Yeah, if he's healthy, look, I don't think, because you could bring in Ekitike in that leg. I still don't think PSG's out of that, going home. Bayern's been better, but they played about as awful as you could in that tie and only lost 1-0, and they had chances to score. They had the ball in the net. So to be called for an offside. So I still, I wouldn't be stunned if PSG went there and won 2-1 or something like that and took it to extra time. But it's interesting. And then, for these games this week, I don't know if you, I'm sure you probably started to look at it. I love Napoli, but Liverpool, Real Madrid, I think is really interesting. Inter Porto, I think, is really interesting. Leipzig, City. Look, City's they're just such a weird team. They should be dominating right now, and they're behind Arsenal here.
Even Holland thinks Arsenal is better.
Oh man, that miss was crazy yesterday, or Saturday. I don't, obviously the glamour tie is going to be Liverpool, Real Madrid, but I think this Eintracht Frankfurt Napoli game could be good. I think there's going to be a ton of goals in that. I don't know if you started looking at those.
Yeah, the glamour tide. I like how you put that. I don't view Liverpool as a glamorous team, but we'll save that for another day. Yeah, Frankfurt
rematch of the two finals in the last 5 years and all that stuff. But I agree. I think Liverpool is, a shell.
That's true. They gotta have some. They gotta have some demons from last year's final in this match.
They lost in 2018 to them. They lost in 2022 to them. And they also, this is, there's no Nunez isn't going to play. He got hurt on the weekend, which could be advantage Liverpool. But they're Real Madrid's got Tuchmani and Cruz out, and they haven't been playing great. It's just it's a weird year. I just City hasn't been playing great, but when you look at the odds for these teams to win it, I don't understand how
I think it's all about the ceiling, right?
City is
because they're not playing well now, but we know City has the players to go out there and win a game 5-0 against some of these top teams, right?
Manchester City right now, they're like plus 180, and Bayern Munich plus 375 after that. You kind of figured Munich, if they get through, was going to be that. Liverpool's at plus 900, Napoli plus 1100, fourth choice with Real Madrid, PSG plus 1200. You can get City to reach the finals minus 125. There's some pretty good value here with some of these teams, to reach a final. But there's not I wouldn't be, first of all, I wouldn't be lumping on City at plus 188 to win the title. I just don't think there's enough value in it. But when you look at the other teams, I don't know who else you'd take. Napoli, I would throw some money on Napoli. I would throw some money on PSG a little bit. I would throw a little bit on Real Madrid, because if PSG does come back, they're not going to be 1,200. They're going to be plus 300 after that. So that's a little bit of a value bet, like it was with Real Madrid last year. I had Real Madrid when they were down to PSG, plus 1,500 there, or plus 2,500. For a little bit, and then I, hammered them after that when they went through, just because of the way they won. But I think there's some value there.
Yeah, I totally agree. PSG's a good value bet, but you got to get them now, because obviously, the value's coming from the fact they're down 1-0 to Bayern going on the road to the second leg.
They're not a long-term investment.
Yeah, but what we saw from that second leg, or from the last 20 minutes of that first leg, they looked really good, and we know they could probably go and beat Bayern. So the value's on them now to take them. You could even take them to advance to the next round if you don't trust they're going to make a deep run. You could probably get them for plus money. Give me 1 second. I'll check that right now, what they are to advance.
Then on PSG?
Yeah, PSG, if you wanted to take them to advance right now.
Plus 450.
Just to advance to the next round?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So all they got to do, because if this was back in the day with the away goals a few years ago, that this would be devastating. But now
if they win the game,
if they win
the game, they're at minimum they're in extra time. All they got to do is win. I mean, it's not like PSG's PSG. They just have to go and win at Bayern Munich. It's not the most it's not the craziest thing in the world for them to win.
Yeah.
And then, if they win by 2 goals, they're through.
It's not going to make earth-shattering headlines if they don't.
PSG to win in extra time is plus 3,000. Plus 3,000.
Whoa.
And it's probably going to go to extra time, because do you see them winning by 2 in Germany? I mean, it could happen. We know Mbappe lit them up in Germany before. So
PSG to win in penalties is plus 2,200. So, when you get to win in extra time and to win in penalties, once again, PSG just has to win the game. So if PSG wins the game, right, and it goes to extra time, plus 3,000 to win in extra time, that's crazy to me.
And if you're going to bet it, you might as well bet, 10 on extra time, 10 on penalties, because either way, the odds are so big. You're making something as long as it gets to extra time and they make it through.
If you bet 10 on them to qualify, 10 on them to win in extra time, 10 on them to win in penalties, and they go through and it's 2-1, they win, and then they score a goal in extra time, and they win 300. You're going to win $345 on just on $30 bet.
That's ridiculous.
It's crazy. If you bet, if you're betting 100, you're winning $3,500. I mean, that's crazy to me. I would 100% take a chance on that.
Yeah. And then the other teams I see there being value in are, I have this funny feeling about these Italian teams. Not mine. Let me make that very clear. Not my team. AC Milan sucks, and you could throw them in the trash. But Inter Milan, they're starting to play well. I know they had that slip up the other day where they've had a few slip ups since the break where they couldn't, cut the gap with Napoli and didn't. But I still think they're playing well enough. And, look at that. They got Porto in the first draw. So they pretty much have I'm not saying Porto's bad. They're not a bad team. They're very good. But I think Inter Milan is that much better right now. And I think this is kind of like a walkthrough for them a little bit. So, yeah, Inter Milan you can get at over plus 3,000, I think, to win right now. And that was before the first legs went last week, though. So I don't know if that changed. But they're a big value play. And Napoli is the other one because, with their lead right now, as Sean said, they can focus on these games. And that's going to play a big part because if they get past Frankfurt here and into the next round, they could start, the deeper they go into this Champions League tournament with their 16-point or 15-point lead in the league, they could afford to throw away some league matches if they have to focus on, a semifinal against Real Madrid or PSG or something like that.
Yeah, and look, the other thing is when you talk about the league and the table, look, Inter, Roma, and Milan are still alive in their European competitions. So, they might be losing some, they might be
Fiorentina beat Braga 4-0 on the road in the Conference League. I couldn't believe it. I was on Braga.
Yeah. Look, and Fiorentina's 14th in the league. That's the thing. I mean, Napoli's got such a cushion there that, they almost want these other teams, Inter, AC Milan, Roma, to go through, because if they go through and Napoli goes through, Napoli's not getting called. There's just no way. Even if they drop a couple points or something somewhere, so these other teams are, because they're playing in the same competition. So, hi. Joy Lynn, hello. How you doing, buddy?
So what goes next? I mean, from the standpoint of, are you playing it out? Are you right now saying, okay, the best thing to do in the next day or so is to sit down and begin the thought of where you're going to plot your next, movement from betting in the different leagues? Is that where you're going with this? Because I mean, both you guys played it, kind of played a little chess here, right? You said if this move goes here, then that move goes there, blah blah blah, right? So, is that where are you working out in your head, saying, okay, I'm working to 2 games from now, or how? What are you talking about?
I think if you're looking at futures, I almost think I did the same thing last year. Real Madrid was such a ridiculous value after the first leg at 2,500, but then even when they won and they were playing Chelsea, they were at plus 1,500. So I think it's tough right now to bet any of these teams in the round of 16 because there's still so many different ways they could go. When it gets to the quarterfinals, the path to the final. Like when the draw comes, it's the quarterfinal draw, the semi. So you kind of know. Look, if PSG does get through, and then they have to play City, the winner of Real Madrid and then somebody else, man, it's crazy. You're going to get crazy value. But or a team like Napoli, they're going to play the winner of Inter, and then the winner of Club Brugge and Benfica, and then the final. Then maybe you can kind of see the paths. So I'll probably wait till the middle of March till I see the draw. But I do think there's it's worth maybe taking a shot. If you think PSG is going to get past, maybe take them. If you think Real Madrid's going to get past Liverpool, maybe take them, because in the next round, I don't know who you're scared of if you're any of these teams. I mean, there's not really, Manchester City's got a great squad, but look, I've seen them play 5 times in the last month. I mean, they're not anything to be scared of. I mean, and how City does in these 2-legged ties. Pep will overthink something. So, I don't know. There's nobody to be scared of. But I will probably wait.
Yeah, with PSG, for example, the value, that's a great thing to think about is the road they'll have to take to the finals, because the value coming into this round was with PSG. They were plus 800 to to win the championship, to win the title, because they had Bayern Munich in front of them right away in the round of 16. Mm-hmm. But if you take them at that value price, or even now with them down the leg after what we saw in the last 20 minutes of that first leg, they can go win that game. And if you take them now with this value, there's a chance that they've already knocked out because Bayern right now, if you look at the odds, they're the second favorite to win the competition. So you got to look at it not only if PSG gets through, they knock out one of the biggest contenders, but there's a chance now they get a better draw going into the finals, and maybe they have to take on a Benfica or a Porto or a team not from one of the power leagues. Now, going to the thing you mentioned, Jim, about it's 2 steps ahead. Absolutely. Sometimes I'll look at the legs like that. For example, I was on Bayern in the first leg because I thought it was a good spot for them. That was their chance to take advantage of a PSG team without Mbappe. So, but at the same time, I was thinking if Bayern wins this one and, Mbappe comes on late and makes a difference, then PSG might be the side to play in the second leg. And sure enough, that's exactly what we saw. Bayern won the game, right, but PSG had their chances late, 2 disallowed goals. And so right now, the way I set that up is I'm thinking, maybe PSG goes back to Germany and wins that game now. Same with Dortmund. I was on Dortmund the other day. Now, my eyes told me Chelsea won that match, but they couldn't put it in the net. And Dortmund capitalized on the one counterattack that they got, put it in the back of the net. When they go back to Chelsea, that's another one where I'm thinking 2 moves ahead now. I'm thinking, Chelsea's probably going to go back and destroy Dortmund in that match if Dortmund barely held them off at home.
Well, you mentioned that last week when we were talking. That, that the moment that game was over, you were all over, what's coming next. And playing, as I said, playing a little bit of a chess thing.
Yeah, and for example, you could get Chelsea right now if you don't trust, like you can get them right now. For example, they're minus 138 to win at home. If you don't want to pay that price, you can get them to qualify at plus 105. And as long as they win at home, they still give themselves a chance to qualify in extra time or something like that. So, but this is a game, they could end up winning by 2 or more here at home with the way they played Dortmund. And I know they lost to Southampton on the weekend, but they had a weaker lineup, I would say, in that one. So I think if we see the same lineup we saw against Dortmund in the first leg, you're going to get some results from Chelsea. Like it just seems like everything's piling up for this team. I know they're in bad form and they're not winning games, but if you watch the games, they're getting chances. They're hitting the posts and things like that, like really close miss. It's almost like what we've seen from Liverpool the last 2 games, how they're starting to explode for some goals after that stretch where they couldn't score. Now I think Chelsea's going to hit that point where it just turns around and they find the back of the net. Maybe it's against Dortmund because they did have so many chances, and we know Dortmund doesn't have a great defense. So, I could see them exploding offensively in that game. But again, I'm expecting something from this Chelsea team.
And, Sean, you were saying the other day that talent-wise it's there, but execution-wise it's not.
Yeah, I mean, these teams are, they're pretty talented, but I mean, I don't know. It's just you watch these games. Look, I mean, right now, obviously, I'm biased. Manchester United is playing out of their minds in the league. And obviously in Bayern, I just think there's going to be a lot of twists and turns over the last, Arsenal, they have a really brutal schedule coming up, and, they're going to be playing in, because, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, really anybody they play in the next round the round of 16 of the Europa League, they're going to be hugely favored. I just think some of these teams are going to, I think Arsenal is going to find it difficult in some of these games when they play in the Premier League and then the Europa League. They really got extremely lucky on Saturday. I mean, it was a really, really lucky goal, but they did win. City struggled a little bit to do that. But when you're playing in all these extra competitions, it's tough. I think Arsenal's out of the FA Cup, I think.
Yeah, they got kicked out by City. 1-0. It was that really low 1-0 where City didn't score until like the 70th minute or something.
Yeah, I mean, right now you got Bristol City's playing Manchester City, Manchester United playing West Ham. Manchester United right now is alive in all 4 competitions. Obviously, they're in the final. Tottenham at Sheffield United. So, City, I think, can deal with that. Arsenal is only in the Europa League and the Premier League, but that Thursday Sunday thing is tough sometimes, especially if you're going to Eastern Europe, some of these places which you might go. I think we're going to see a lot of crazy. I think you're just going to continue to see crazy results here. The Premier League, in the last couple of years, 3 of the last 4 years. I mean, when when Liverpool and City, was like 98, 97 points. And then last year it was, they went down to the wire, and then City had 100 points the 1 year. You're not seeing that now. These teams are all competitive, and look at the bottom of the. I think sometimes the top of the thing is pretty interesting, but when you look at the bottom of the Premier League right now, who's going down? I don't know. West Ham's on 20 points. They're really struggling. Leeds on 19, Southampton on 18, but playing better. Bournemouth on 21, Everton on 21, Wolves on 23. Leicester on 24, Nottingham Forest on 25. I mean, this league, I mean, it hasn't been this competitive in a long time. Even, the top three, Arsenal 54, City 52, Manchester United 49. So there's a little bit of a race there. Obviously, Arsenal has a game in hand, but and then the race for in the middle of the pack is pretty even. It's crazy. I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe Chelsea will get relegated. God willing. 31 points after 23 matches with a 0 goal difference. I mean, they've been atrocious. They can't score.
They won't let it happen, Sean. They won't let it happen.
They bought all those players, and not one of them can, not one of them was a 9.
Some teams, they just don't get relegated, and it happens. It happens a lot in the small leagues.
They're not going to. The team. To me, I still think Wolves are probably going to, they're only 3 points ahead of West Ham. So obviously if West Ham wins their next game, I think Wolves with their coach now.
Well, West Ham, they've had a break right now. You got to remember, they're like Arsenal. They didn't have to play in this round of Conference League. They're back in the Conference League after this round because they've already gone into the round of 16.
Yeah, they only have 19 goals in 23 Premier League games. I think they're in a little bit of trouble. I'll be honest. The longer they stick with Moyes, because they're gonna look. I mean, once again, they're gonna batter the teams they play in that Conference League. I mean, they're gonna be in probably a quarter, semifinal. They're gonna so they have 2 round of 16 matches in March, 2 quarterfinal matches in April, and then maybe two semifinal matches in May. So they're going to be playing all these extra, and they don't have the biggest squad in the world. I think, I'm telling you, I think they're in a lot of trouble. Like, they're going to be struggling big time. They can't score goals. I think Leeds is in trouble. Obviously, they're 19th. Southampton, they stink too, but, they just got rid of their coach, and, they played well in the weekend. Leeds still doesn't hire a coach. I think, West Ham, if they were smart, they'd get rid of Moyes. The teams around them have all fired their coaches now and have a little bit of a bounce. I still think Bournemouth goes down. I still think Southampton goes down and, probably Leeds. But, I wouldn't be stunned to see Southampton because they do have talent. Like, they're talented and young. If Southampton could win a couple games in a row, maybe that drags some of these. If any of these teams win 2 or 3 matches, which none of them can do because that's why they're down there, I think they'll be all right. But yeah, look, it's a crazy. Hey, Bill.
Bill, what's to say? I love it, Bill. You're talking about taking Torino as a degenerate play. That would be pretty close to a degenerate play, Bill.
I don't. Yeah, who's Torino's playing? Cremonese.
I think it's Cremonese.
Yeah.
The winless Serie A team.
Well, let me see what the odds are on that.
Minus 150 for Torino is what I got here.
Yeah, and
might be worth a flyer.
Torino's top half of the table. Cremonese still
not
right at the bottom.
Points, man.
They were off the foot of the table for about 30 seconds. I was watching the match. They scored first and we're off the foot of the table. And then 2 minutes later, they conceded the equalizer and we're right back at the bottom.
They're really bad on the road as well. Torino is not great at home, but they've only allowed 6 goals at home.
I could see the game going under. If you look at Torino, they just lost 1-0 AC Milan. They've been playing in a lot of 1-0 games lately though, but even that's juiced to the minus 150. I don't really love the board today for soccer. I think this is one of the rare days I actually didn't give out a soccer play just because there's 2 games and that's just what happens on these Champions League, Europa League weeks because all the good teams play Tuesday to Thursday. So really Monday and Friday there'll be the odd game, but it'll be your Girona versus Almeria or something like that, right? It's always the bad one.
And Bill, Torino, first half handicap of a half a goal is plus 140. Once again, they've only allowed 6 goals at home, and Cremonese has given up 21 on the road. So, you know, maybe that's an interesting play. Like, you know, I wouldn't put a lot on it. Maybe, I don't know what you, once again, I don't know what you bet. Maybe I would
Save the money for Champions League tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill,
Day off.
very good today. I mean, it's
It's a holiday. There's afternoon hockey. Go play some afternoon hockey, Bill. Save your money for the good stuff tomorrow.
Benfica plays Boa Vista today.
Was there Portugal game? I didn't see that.
Yeah, there's 2 games in Portugal. Chaves plays Sporting Lisbon as well. So let me see if I can let's see what Benfica's minus 625. I mean,
You've been watching the Denmark League lately?
No, but I was sitting with a guy from the that team that's leading it is crazy.
Nordsjælland, they were in relegation like 2 years ago, or maybe even last year. I forget. But Nordsjælland was like one of the worst teams in the league. I couldn't believe it.
He was explaining it to me, like, and they're playing really well right now because they were Midtjylland. Midtjylland's not playing very well at all.
They're like middle of the table, Midtjylland.
Nordsjælland just sold. They sold one of their players to Benfica for like 30 million, maybe, or 20 million. So they've been selling players and making all kinds of money. Nordsjælland, this guy was telling me it's like the craziest. There was only 1 year when Denmark didn't have to qualify for the Champions League. They got to go through the qualification. And the only year that it happened, they won the league, Nordsjælland, like 10 years ago, and they got in, and then they got like smoked every game they played, but it didn't matter because they got in, and then they haven't done anything since. But now, yeah, they only have 2 losses here, so crazy story.
Viborg's in second or whatever.
Yeah, those leagues tend to, they tend to like, Copenhagen's in third, AGIF, Odds Ball Club, like. You'll see these. Michelin's not playing well. Brøndby's not playing. They'll tend to like start to kind of even out a little bit. Close, Brøndby will make a run. Midtjylland will make a run here. Michelin's got a game in hand. They're 13 points back. But then you'll look up in like April or May, and they'll be 5 points behind or 3 points behind.
That's how Turkey is too. It's like you'll have at the beginning of the year like Alanyaspor is leading the table, and then by the time we hit this time, they're like in 6th or something. Then you get your Besiktas. You know what? Galatasaray is actually looking pretty good in Turkey right now. That's a team maybe to keep an eye on. They have a lot of those like older, washed up players like Mauro Icardi's on the team. They got who else they got? I think they got Dries Mertens on Galatasaray. So they got a lot of those older players that don't play in the top leagues anymore.
Well, sometimes that's not a bad thing.
I've noticed that this Turkish Super League is almost like an MLS for some of these European players. Like a lot of them will go to Turkey. Like we saw, obviously, we got Ener Valencia over there. In the World Cup, he was Ecuador's best player. He plays for Fenerbahce, right? Like they play for Turkish clubs. These guys, and you got your Wout Weghorst from a Turkish club, Sean?
Yeah,
so what I mean, a lot of these guys, it's like they're MLS. I don't know what it is. Maybe Turkey's a very nice place to live, but they love to play in the Turkish league. I like the Turkish
if you're on the Mediterranean, it's not bad at all.
Yeah, I like the Turkish league. I think there's a lot of quality teams in there between your Besiktas, Trabzonspor, Istanbul Başakşehir, Galatasaray. There's a lot of quality teams in that league.
And you sometimes you just have to take it what you got, but
yeah,
it's I'm just pulling this up. We were talking, Sean, on the other day about the Genesis Classic, the Invitational. And John Rahm actually was the number 1 choice. So he won. That doesn't happen often. He had a total of 17 under. Homa kind of choked at the end. He had a chance. Cantley and Zaralis finishes, 4-5, and Tiger made the cut. It was a really interesting 4 days of golf.
Yeah, Jim, didn't we make a joke about someone like a Max Homa winning that tournament?
We absolutely did.
And when I saw him leading after the first day,
yeah,
I couldn't believe it. I was like, unbelievable. We were joking around about it, and Homa just comes out.
They get very close.
Well, yeah, there was a few chances where Rahm started to bogey on that back nine, and
nine yesterday.
Yeah, if he just wasn't in the trees. Every time I watched, it was like one of them was off in like the trees or something in the rough down a valley or something. I was like, what is going on? They just can't hit the fairway today.
You know what? Sometimes, you get in that position and you start thinking, and that's the worst thing you can do in golf is start thinking that, wait a minute, I might win this thing. And, suddenly that putter weighs about 300 pounds and, what used to be easy isn't. And you can psych yourself out. And I think in some of those cases yesterday, I think he psyched himself out, because he made those plays all week long. He couldn't make it the last, 3 holes.
Yeah,
That's really where he blew it.
He was really starting to come up too. I think the turning point was when Rahm hit like, I think it was on a par 3. He hit a birdie putt from the fringe of the green, and it was like a 40-foot putt too. And when he made that, I was like, oh no, you can't make a putt like that. Or now it's over, right? Because I hadn't seen really anybody make a far putt like that all day. It was all guys were missing from like 10 feet.
No, and it was all like you're sitting there going, no, how could you miss this? I can make it. Of course, we all know that. You're sitting at home, you can make anything.
There was a lot of shots where I was like, I could hit the green from there. You're 150 yards out. Come on.
Well, again, I hesitate to mention this, but the wind on that course is going to kill you. And man, they were in the, was the old joke, they were in more bunkers than, World War II characters, but they spent a lot of time traversing the course. They hit the ball all over the place.
Yeah,
but,
a lot of sandcastles getting built.
Yeah, it was a lot of sandcastles, but it was an entertaining tournament. I will say that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Tiger in maybe some future tournaments now that I know he can actually shoot under par again.
Well, when he gets to Florida and it's flat, and the warmth there, because that wasn't, it was, it was in the 70s, low 70s, but the warmth when he gets to Florida is going to be a whole lot easier. Plus,
doesn't he live in Florida?
Yeah, he does.
Okay, so perfect. He's used to the climate.
The thing that the Bay Hill Classic, which used to be Arnold Palmer's tournament, that's the one where he's always done well at that course. And he used to live, 10 minutes from that course. So, it should be, if Tiger's going to win, who knows? He's 47 years old. He's had everything, redone, but yet he still posts. And, some people made some money the other day.
Yeah, if you took that boost, plus 300 for Tiger to make the cut.
So there you go, boys and girls. It's, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But it will be playing out really soon.
Oh, yeah.
So, any final questions, boys? What we got? We already saw that one. The Bill question, La Liga.
Yeah, he was just talking about Hitafi and Valencia, how I mentioned you'll get the odd game on these Champions League weeks on the Monday, Friday, but it's always a bad game. So we were talking about the Torino Cremonese being bad, and he wanted to throw in how Spain's got a bad one too.
Yeah, it's an equal opportunity situation, Bill. There's bad games everywhere, and very soon there's going to be the the MLS starting. So they'll have them on evenings during the course of the weekend and on the weekend. So
Yeah, 12 of them at the same time.
yeah, no, stagger by in a half an hour now. Don't or an hour. Don't cheat yourself. That's the deal. The East Coast game starts at 7:30. The Central starts at 7:30. The Mountain starts at 7:30, and the West Coast all starts at 7:30, just as Sean had hoped for it.
Gotta love it.
So,
Gotta love it. I feel like they got that from Ligue 1 because Ligue 1 is the only like big European league I know where they'll throw everything on a Sunday and then everything on a Wednesday at 1:00 and then everything on a Sunday at 9 again.
So what's your day off like today in beautiful downtown Manchester?
I didn't know. Day off. I gotta work. I gotta write.
Okay.
He ain't
What's
in North
weather
America. Like? There ain't no holiday in England.
What's the weather like? We see you're in there and not out like.
It's about 60 degrees. It's
Balmy.
it's not bad. So it's actually
Sun, possible sun.
yeah. It's the sun might be out.
In Manchester.
Yeah. It's not often, but
Okay.
You know what? I tuned in to watch Man United yesterday, and I had to reboot my app because when I tuned in, I saw sun peeking in onto the field, and I thought maybe I had got the wrong game, so I had to redo it. I couldn't believe there was sun in Manchester.
No.
Every once in a while.
Yeah, well, it's got to be because of Sean, because it's always sunny in Philadelphia. So if you take the Philly guy over to,
he must have brought it over from Barcelona.
Right, absolutely.
He stole some sun from the Barcelona streets.
Right.
Brought it in his pocket.
Yep.
He got a pocket full of sunshine.
Sean, Amedeus and I were longing to see more of the wonderful sun that you had in Barcelona with all those little cafes. We would have liked to take a tour of the beach. That would have been fun. So
yeah, I think my next trip is to Spain because of you, Sean.
I've never really. I've always been in the winter. So I went to Madrid in June one year. It was like there wasn't a cloud in the sky for 5 days, and it was like 95 degrees. It's fantastic, and it's like no humidity. So I'd like to go to Barcelona when it's warm. So maybe maybe April or something like that.
Well, my wife was there as a doctor in the Olympics in 94 when it was in Spain, in Barcelona, and the Dream Team, and so I loved it. She said it's a beautiful, beautiful city, plenty of cool stuff, and really things don't get started until 9:30, 10 o'clock over there. So.
Yeah, no, that's the matches are 9 o'clock and stuff like that. So
you do that here, people will be sleeping in the third.
Yeah, no. Look, when I'm at home, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm usually shut down by that time. Like here, PM told me to play Barcelona win 2-0 for the Man United game. Lucky I didn't play it.
Yeah, sorry, Bill. I liked Barcelona in the game.
Yeah, look, hey, Bill. I'm going to tell you right now, this United team. I mean, Rashford's a monster. I mean, they're a little bit. They're not healthy yet. Like, if they can just, this is a huge week. Pedri is out, injured, and Gavi is suspended. So
he was talking about the last game. I told him.
Pedri went out. Like you could see the game switched. I know they haven't get a lot of goals at home, but this Manchester United team right now is just nonstop pressure. So I think this week, I haven't really seen the odds yet. I gotta take a look at the odds for that.
Yeah, sorry, Bill. I didn't expect Man United to come out that good on the road, but they were clearly the better team, and they're probably going to win. They're plus 130 at home this week, Sean.
Yeah, I think it's an over. I think there's going to be some some goals in that one.
Oh, look at that. Over 2.5, minus 110. It's not even pushed to 3.
I think there's going to be some goals. We have, it's going to be Casa. We're starting to get healthy. I'll tell you, let me see the futures here. Manchester United's at plus 600 to win that tournament. I think if they get through, I would say they probably drop below Arsenal, to be honest. If United goes out and wins 3-1 on Thursday night, same thing with Barcelona. If Barcelona wins, I think that they'll probably win the tournament. I think at some point Arsenal will probably just be focused on the Premier League. But it's going to be interesting that they're playing. Manchester United's playing out of their minds right now, so we'll see.
That's a good thing.
And then when you guys get Mbappe in the summer, you'll have Rash Mbappe, and you won't need Wout Weghorst. You could send him back.
Yep.
Get it and don't have to worry, right?
He's just on loan till the summer, right?
Yes.
Is there an option to buy?
Who? Mbappe?
No, Weghorst. I was talking about Weghorst. My bad.
I'm not sure, but I think same with Sabitzer.
Sabitzer's been good. He's been actually
there's no option to buy, but I think they'll probably buy him. The Bayern will want 15 million. Once again, Weghorst. Look, he's not your guy, but man, imagine having him to come off the bench if you need something, and I think he would be happy. Kind of playing, when you're playing 56 matches a year, he's going to play 30 of them off the bench or start some. He's not a terrible guy to have I don't think he should start, obviously all the time, but he's a really good plan B because once again, he does that stuff. So, if you have Osimhen and him and Rashford and thing, it's good. So, he's not going to cost anything, he's going to cost $12, but
dollars.
Maybe a little more than $12. I'm not just saying,
Yeah, maybe a little.
Maybe 14 or 15, but
yeah, give him minimum wage.
Right. Yeah. All right. Okay, boys. Any final thoughts before we head out here on a Monday?
Yeah.
By the way, Sean,
Just
it's about the same weather here in your neck of the woods as it is in Manchester.
I heard it's been nice.
Yep, it's not bad.
One last response to Bill for me. Bill, just go look at their goals allowed in the league, man. Okay, what do you mean this supposed great defense? They've allowed 6 goals all year.
That's more than supposed. That would be categorically good defense.
Okay, that's literally it's 6 goals, I think, in 21 matches now, 22 matches. So yeah, it's not my fault. Man United ripped them open.
Oops.
Okay, not that Man United did more than any team in Spain has been able to do to Barcelona all year.
That's what I'm telling you, man. If Barcelona actually goes and wins Thursday night or goes through, and Manchester United's out of that tournament and only has to, because then they have to care about cup final and they're still in the FA Cup, but the FA Cup is different days once it goes.
Mm-hmm.
If they only have to focus on the Premier League while these other teams have to focus on the other stuff, they're a dangerous team, man. They could win the Premier League. I'm not saying they're
right away. Now you guys are 5 points out from the
I'm not saying they're going to. I'm just saying if all those other teams are playing and they're not, they have a really good shot to do it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's part of the same reason why Napoli has a great shot in Champions League, because they have such a big lead that if you need to start throwing away games, you can afford to do that. Just like how if Man United doesn't have this extra competition to worry about, you can afford to maybe let's go try and win the title from these 2 bums.
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, well. Tell you what, we're going to be back tomorrow. Any thing to look out for tomorrow, boys?
Just Champions League. Save your money. Champions League day tomorrow.
Okay, fair enough. Sean, any final words from over in England?
No, getting ready for this big week.
Okay.
So he's about to go get the best burger ever in town.
And best,
No, I'm gonna go get some
Philly cheesesteak.
crispy duck maybe.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
okay.
not bad. There
If I
you
can
go.
get in, man, this place, it used to be, there's all these hipsters here now, so like, you know, you gotta try to fight with all these people.
Gotta get the food trends up.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Better, it didn't
Alright.
used to be like this.
All right, boys.
It's
We will
becoming gentrified.
There you go. All right. For Sean and Amadeus, I'm Jim saying we'll see you tomorrow. 9 o'clock, same time, same station.